and I'm the director of Man of La Mancha, and this is...
Jeff McCarthy. I play Don Quixote / Cervantes.
I'm Felicia Boswell, and I play Aldonza / Dulcinea.
And I'm Tom Robbins, and I play Sancho.
Slash
No,
manservant.
I don't play slashes. I don't do slashes.
I love it. I love it. And we're just going to discuss a little bit about Man of La Mancha, which I think is really important that we do this year because it's the 50th anniversary of Man of La Mancha. It opened in New York at the Amphitheater in 1965. So we're really excited to be doing it. But more than just an anniversary production, I think we're doing it for other reasons, what Don Quixote stands for, and what the story that has to be told, I think, repeatedly in Man of La Mancha is a story we need to hear today. Jeff, would you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, Cervantes, have learned in this production, I've worked on this before, but in this production, really, his worldview is incredibly dark, which I tend to relate to. It was a bad scene in the early 17th century, and we're living in a fairly complicated world again, in an entirely different way for the most part. But I find it so fascinating. In order to endure this world, he creates this fictional dreamer and optimist and fighter for justice and all of these things, Don Quixote. So whenever I get lost in the role, or as I'm discovering things, I can always go back to that and very personally attach myself to this story, which I have grown to love deeper and broader than ever.
Because he only sees right in the world when you think about it. He refuses to see the wrong or the bad as Quixote.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so exciting. If only we could all see more of the right and not the wrong. But there's a lot of wrong around us, which is what you're saying. A lot of things that are just unbelievably spiraling down in the world today. And how can we, hold on to the dream that there's something better?
What I'm finding interesting also is even as Don Quixote at times, he digests. I mean, Cervantes creeps through in Don Quixote and vice versa. It's really an interesting road, and I think it will change every night that we do it.
Tom?
I was going to say, maybe it's not so much that he refuses to see that there's evil, but that he refuses to bow down to it.
Right, or
He says the good will always prevail.
Right.
And that's his idealism that's so beautiful.
And yet I meet people all the time that are that way, always positive. I just want to slap them, So it's constantly a balancing thing.
So Tom, what is surprising to you about Sancho? You read about him, you read the script, and when you got into rehearsal, what's perhaps a little different about him?
Before I approached this part, I always assumed that the role of Sancho was meant to be a clown, that he was comic relief, and he was always like a short, tubby little guy with a high, squeaky voice, and he was there to get the laughs. And once I read the script and started working on it, I realized that that's not the case at all, at least not with me. He is a very sincere, sweet, simple man who is filled with love for this man who he considers, that was the days of classes in Spain, and he considers this man above him. And yet this man has chosen him and promised to show him wonders and marvels and take him on adventures and save him from a life of drudgery, working on his farm, backbreaking labor with a wife who beats him and children that he has to feed and raise and get married off. And so I've discovered that there is humor in the role, but it comes naturally out of his innocence and his desire to believe that the things he's telling him are true because they're wonderful, and yet his simple, peasant farmer realization that the things that he's being told are completely at odds with what his eye actually sees. So that's where the comedy comes,
Yeah.
and the disparity between those two
Both
things.
of the characters are very innocent when you think about it.
Mhm.
That's what we're discovering too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of lovely that I don't remember when there was so much innocence in the world. There is not innocence in the world now, but there was then.
But it makes them such a great pair.
Yeah, yes, that's true. That's
And they're
true.
innocent in different ways.
Right.
They are, right.
Yeah. So Felicia, your character probably has the longest journey.
I think so.
The longest journey from being an absolute strumpet, we can use
I
that
say so.
archaic word, to really believing in what Don Quixote says, then being abused by that belief, but then coming around again. What has the challenge been for you? I mean, obviously
Oh my
there are
gosh,
few.
I'm learning so much about her life and who she is every day. I'm discovering something new every day in the text. There's like so many little, nuggets of information that enhances my idea of who she is. She's a fiery spirit. She's been a tortured soul. She's endured a lot from the world and men, and being fatherless and motherless, and feeling alone, and thinking that she has only one thing to keep herself alive, and that's physically her, whatever that entails. And so I'm driven by her spirit. I'm driven by her inner being, her character, and she's like I said, she's tortured, and she comes across this man who sees her in a different light and shows her something different, tells her something different. Hard to believe in the beginning, but she starts to think, oh wait, I can be these beautiful, wonderful things that I've never heard. No one's ever said these things to me, and so I like telling that part of her journey. I like seeing that part of her journey, just coming from nothing and becoming something completely different, but something completely wonderful. And I always associate it to the story of Mary Magdalene, and that's the first person I thought of when I started to discover Aldonza.
I'm curious, what do you mean by that?
Mary Magdalene is in the Bible, and she was a strumpet, she was a whore, and she was, cast out by, the people in her land, and Jesus came, and he forgave her for her sins, and she became new and cleansed and replenished, and she found her worth in someone showing her that there was more to life than her past, and there was more to live for, and you can be reborn again. And to me, that is the epitome of Aldonza, that struggle, that I am made new. And it's wonderful. It's actually one of my favorite stories from the Bible, and so Aldonza is really special to me.
Now let's talk about the music, because right now
Yes.
it's sounding like it's a serious play. Okay, and it does have wonderful serious overtones, which is why I love it. I love it because it's so passionate. It's so strong. It's serious, and yet it's so funny. But there's that soaring, gorgeous score. So you've sung this before. You've done La Mancha once before.
Yeah. And not such a soaring production as we're going to have here.
Now it's totally soaring. Totally soaring.
Yeah.
So when you first, do you remember first being introduced to the score? Does anybody?
Oh yes, in high school. I mean, when Richard Kiley says, "Then perhaps it was not a dream." I mean, those line readings leading into the finale are, in my bones at this point.
Did you do it in high school, or you just?
No, I did it in college. I played Pedro in college,
Oh,
in a pretty good production of it, I think. Yeah, but yes, and the impossible dream. It starts up, and we've all heard it in elevators all these years.
So is it somewhat difficult to sing that song?
No, because
everybody knows it. Is
it's
it
very
oh my God?
active. Yes, I mean I fear for that aspect of it, but it's certainly actable in context of the story. It's very correct. I mean, they didn't write it to be a big AM hit. It was written for in context of Man of La Mancha, and it's quite potent in that context. That's for sure. So we hope we can, for the moment, help people forget that we've heard it all of our lives. In Target and Walmart.
Yeah. Is there any one song that you sing that's like your favorite?
Oh, I Like Him.
Oh, I really love
it's a wonderful song.
It's great.
And it's so sweet. I remember the first time I heard the score. I've heard all the big hits that they play, on the radio all the time. But the first time I heard the whole score, it just struck me, first of all, how many incredibly catchy tunes there are in the show.
Yeah.
And also there's sort of a Spanish element to it that's appropriate for the setting of the piece that I didn't really get from the big hits. Some of the smaller numbers and some of the scoring of the scenes has a wonderful feel that puts you right into that world. And the other thing that struck me was the songs are all a very nice length. They really give you a beautiful melody. They like do what they're supposed to do, and then they're over, and you go on.
But
and
you
then
want more.
Yeah, they leave
I
you
always
wanting
want more of that Impossible Dream song. I
Yeah,
always
it's
think
short.
that there's so much
It's
more
2
to
minutes
it.
and
I
30
really
seconds
are.
Yeah.
to me.
There's so many musicals that have songs that go on and on,
Yes.
and after a while you're like, I get the point. I've
Right,
heard the
right.
melody.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
show me something new?
Yeah.
And this one is just right.
Right.
Just-
You know, it was originally written as a play for
Yes.
television, and so
I
it was a
thought it
really, it was a really strong play, and so really the songs were added to it. I mean, they took some of the scenes out and put the songs in, but oftentimes you don't have such a strong book.
Yeah.
How about you? You have some really difficult
Oh my
numbers to sing.
goodness.
Oh, yes.
She sings everything across the map. I mean, honestly, this is my first time ever looking at the score, ever singing the music. I have to pull out every skill possible to tell the story of Aldonza and Dulcinea. I think my favorite song is What Does He Want of Me and Dulcinea. I like Aldonza. I like the grit. I like telling that part of her story, but I love the sweet moments. I think Dulcinea in the end is, I was looking at Jeff in rehearsal the other day, and I was thinking, I'm gonna cry. It's a really, really sweet song. I think the music is brilliant, and yes, it's short and to the point, and no extra,
And
no
to
extra
each his
fat.
Dulcinea is
Right.
Oh, that's
my
song.
favorite
Yeah.
song.
Everybody thinks
Yeah.
The Impossible Dream
Right.
is the theme of this
Right.
musical. I think it's To Each His
I agree.
Dulcinea.
I'm surprised that doesn't get played
So
more.
much.
Yeah.
Kind of thank God it doesn't, right? So it's special when we have it in the
Right.
show.
Yeah.
So
You know what's-
I was just gonna
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna end it.
Okay.
You were gonna say something else?
No, we can
If
talk
you say
later.
something really good, we can
Yeah,
snip
yes.
that little.
No,
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
now Jeff is going to give us the finale, right?
No, I was actually going to ask you a question. Yeah, I mean, regarding feminism and all that. What was this?
How long do we have?
Quick, get off the camera.
63, is that when this, 65 you say,
65.
But Aldonza was this woman fighting for her independence. It resonates very differently today than it did back then. But you're right, that's a much longer subject than our little blog has time for us.
Come join us at Man of La Mancha, June 10th to July 11th.